If I asked you right now, how's your business going? What's the first word that comes to mind? Now, I'm going to take a guess that it wasn't struggling and it probably wasn't failing either. If I had to put money on it, I'd say the word is closer to something like fine or good or we're busy or, in light of the current economic conditions, maybe it's a little bit flat. If you're like many of the commercial real estate principals that I meet, you've got deals happening, you've got a team in place, and you're not behind on anything particularly critical. But your revenue isn't growing as much as you would like it to, even though you're working as hard as you possibly can. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. Not the businesses that are struggling. I want to talk about the ones that are succeeding in a way that's quietly starting to feel like you've hit a ceiling. This is episode 271 of Commercial Real Estate Leadership. Hello, my name's Darren Krakowiak. I'm here to help commercial real estate principals to lead better, grow faster, and to stress less. And this episode is a little bit different, and it's supposed to be. So if you're thinking this sounds a little bit different to what I'm usually serving up, this is going to be something which probably isn't as relevant if you are not a commercial real estate principal. So I just want to sort of preface this episode by saying that up front. So there is a pattern that I see in commercial real estate agencies that I work with. And it doesn't matter if they're in Sydney or Perth or regional Queensland, it shows up more or less the same way across all of those businesses. We've got a commercial real estate principal that is quite exceptional, not average, not just decent. They were for, more often than not, the best agent in the room during their career. And some of them were even the best in their market for a period of time. And they've built a business on the back of that excellence. They've won clients because they're better. They've closed deals that others couldn't. And they've stayed close to everything because that's what gets them results. And as they've started their own businesses and started to build them, they've hired people, they've kept doing all of those things. And the business grew to a point where it was running entirely on their capacity. And then the growth starts to kind of taper off. And here's the thing that nobody tells you when you're the best agent in the room. Being the best is exactly what makes building a team harder. Because every time you decide to step in because you are faster, because you are better, and because it's just easier for you to do it yourself, you're also teaching everyone around you that the right move for them is to wait for you to intervene. You didn't build a bad business. You've just built a business that is too reliant on you. And the problem with it is that you can't scale yourself. Most principals, when they get to this point, diagnose it as a team problem. They think, I've got the wrong people. I don't have enough people. I've got people that need too much management. And I understand why they see it that way. But in almost every case, that diagnosis is wrong. And fixing the wrong problem means you're just wasting time. So what is actually going on? I want to give this a name. We're going to call it the escalation trap. And the escalation trap is what happens when a business has been structured, usually not on purpose, by the way, it just sort of ends up like this. It's been structured so that every decision of any consequence runs through one person, the commercial real estate principal. And I want to be really clear here about where the responsibility sits, because I've noticed there can be a tendency to maybe blame the team for this, but it's not the team's fault. The team has learnt through hundreds of small interactions that waiting for you, the commercial real estate principal, is the safer option. Every time that you've stepped in because it was faster, every time you've saved a deal that they were handling, every time you've answered the question instead of putting it back on them, you've been training them to rely on you. Perhaps not deliberately, by the way, but certainly consistently. And the escalation trap that I'm talking about has two sides: the principal who steps in and the team who waits for the intervention before they act. But it is the principal who built this trap. And that means the principal has to be the one who takes responsibility for dismantling it. So think about what that actually looks like in a normal week. How many times does somebody come to you with a decision that they could have made themselves, but they come to you with it? How many emails land in your inbox or get forwarded to you because somebody wasn't sure if they're allowed to handle it without your input? How many times are you the last person a deal touches at a certain point before it moves to the next stage? If any of this sounds familiar, this is not a team problem, right? This is an architecture problem. And the architect of this system is you. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because I think most principals, when they hear this, they know it's true or mostly true. And some of the time they've even tried to fix it. They've delegated, they've hired good people, they've told their team, hey, come to me with solutions, don't come to me with problems. But a few weeks later, everything goes back to the way it was. And why does that happen? I think it happens because the escalation trap isn't just a systems problem, it's an identity problem. And that's a very different conversation. It's a very different problem to solve. I've worked with a lot of principals who tried delegation and it didn't work. And when I ask them what happened, the story is usually some version of they handed it off, it didn't go perfectly, they stepped back in, they solved the problem, and then gradually, sometimes within days, the old pattern just reestablishes itself and the escalation trap is back in place. Now, there's a reason why this keeps happening. And it's not because they didn't try hard enough or because they chose the wrong people to delegate to. It's that the thing that they were trying to change is operational, but the thing stopping them from making the change is not operational. It's about their identity. So think about what it means to be you in your business right now. You're the person clients know and trust the most. You're the one who's across every important deal. You're the reason why the business has the reputation it has. That's not me stroking your ego, by the way. It's true and it's valuable. But there's another side to that coin. Because when you imagine a version of your business that doesn't genuinely need you at the center of it, when you try to picture clients dealing with your team instead of you, decisions being made without you, without your sign-off, deals happening without your fingerprints having been all over them, there's a part of you that maybe feels something. And that something isn't relief. It might be nervousness, it might be unease, or it might be maybe something closer to a feeling of loss. Because the identity that you've built is inseparable from being indispensable. And the thing that I'm describing here, a business that can run without you, it sounds to that part of you like you're being made redundant or you're being replaced, which kind of sounds like being less. But it isn't, though it won't happen until that belief shifts. The operational changes won't stick. You can restructure the team, you can document the processes, you can hire the right people, and the escalation trap will rebuild itself because the person at the top running the business still believes somewhere deep down underneath that intention to change that their presence is what makes it all work. So what does breaking through actually require? I want to be honest with you about this because I think a lot of the content out there on this topic isn't very honest. And I've really taken the time to reflect on the work I've done with clients on this. It doesn't require you to stop doing deals. Okay? It doesn't require you to hand the business over to somebody else or to remove yourself from client relationships that are important to you and that matter to the business. It doesn't require you to be a different type of operator or to care less about the work than you already do. But what it does require is a shift in what you're willing to let the business do without you. Not everything, by the way. The things you're genuinely the best at, the things that you still enjoy, I call that the zone of genius, what you enjoy, what you're good at, and what contributes the most value. You can keep all of those. But decisions that your team could make, the clients that your team could service, the problems that your team could solve, if they believe they had permission to, those have to go. What's on the other side of this shift? Well, it's a business where you can still do the deals that you find interesting, but you're doing those deals by choice, not because you believe the business will collapse if you don't. When this shift occurs, you have a team that prospects without you hounding them to do so. You can have a structure where you going away for a 3-week period doesn't create a crisis or a complete stalling in progress in your business. That's a specific achievable state. It's not magic. It's not purely passive income because you're still at the helm, but it is a business that's closer to what you probably wanted when you decided that you wanted a business, right? It's one that provides you with a bit more freedom. No commercial real estate agency that I've come across is a perfect business, but the best ones are excellent, imperfect businesses. So I want to give you a frame for thinking about this that I've personally found useful, and I want to call it the ceiling formula. And your revenue ceiling is set by just two things: the number of hours you're willing to work and your willingness to be replaced in the things that you are best at. Most principals I work with have already maxed out that first variable, the number of hours they're willing to work. If anything, they want to pull back. But most of them haven't really touched that second variable at all, because the second variable, which is your willingness to be replaced in the things that you are best at, that feels a little bit uncomfortable. That requires building something that is genuinely good at the things that they are currently good at, which means accepting that the business can get a lot done without them. So that's the real ceiling here. It's not the market, it's not the team, it's not deal flow, it's the principal's willingness to be replaced in their own areas of excellence, in their own zone of genius. When that shift occurs, the ceiling lifts, not immediately by the way, but it will reliably happen once you make that shift. So here's where I want to leave you. If you've been listening to this and it's resonating, it's something that you recognize, you can see your business in the success trap, or if you know the escalation trap is running inside your team right now, or perhaps the identity obstacle feels, uncomfortably accurate, that recognition is worth paying attention to. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. In fact, it means you're very, very normal. You've built something real. You've been running it on your own capacity for long enough that it's showing up as a ceiling. And now the next move, if you want to really grow, requires something different from you. Not more effort, not better people, something different from you specifically. I'm not going to tell you what that looks like in your business because I don't know your business specifically, but I do know the pattern, and I know with conviction believe that it is solvable. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, and I know some of you have been around for quite a long time, and today's episode felt different, like I said at the top, it's supposed to. And if it did feel different, and if we've hit the mark somewhere, I want to hear from you. Let's have a conversation about what's actually going on in your business, what's going on with you, and let's find out how making those shifts can happen and if it's something that I can help you with. The best way to do that is to find me on LinkedIn, Darren Krakowiak. Just look at the podcast notes to find my name. And I can tell you I'm the only one on there with that name. And send me a DM, send me a message, right? Tell me a bit about where your business is at and I will get back to you personally. That's our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening. I will speak to you soon.